All right, if you've got a pond, you're gonna wanna listen to this. We're about to totally change how you look at pond management. And the best part? It's not about buying fancy, expensive gear. It's about understanding the natural rhythm of the seasons. Let's dive in. Okay, picture this. You walk outside one morning, cup of coffee in hand, and your heart just sinks. Your fish are all at the surface, gasping. But yesterday, everything was perfect. The water was clear, you haven't changed the feed. What on earth happened? It's a terrifying moment, and believe me, it's way more common than you think. Your mind immediately jumps to the usual suspects, right? A new disease, bad feed. But the real culprit, the biggest and most overlooked threat to your pond, is something that's always there, working quietly in the background. It's hiding in plain sight. It's the changing of the seasons. But here's the good news. In this whole story, you're the hero, and your superpower is knowledge. See, once you learn how to read the seasons, to understand their impact on the water, you can stop just reacting to disasters and actually start preventing them. You can stay one step ahead. So let's start with the season that feels the most peaceful, winter. The pond is quiet, it looks dormant, maybe even frozen over. But don't let that deceptive calm fool you. Underneath that surface, there are hidden dangers brewing, especially if you're unprepared. So, here's the classic winter mistake, and it's one we make because we're creatures of habit. We keep feeding on a set schedule just like we did in the summer. But for your fish, which are cold-blooded, reality is completely different. As that water gets colder, their metabolism practically grinds to a halt. Put simply, they're just not hungry. And this is where a dangerous chain reaction kicks off. All that uneaten food just sinks to the bottom and starts to rot. That decomposition process sucks precious oxygen out of the water. Even worse, it releases toxic ammonia. It's a silent problem that just slowly poisons the water, putting stress on your fish when they're already at their most vulnerable. So the solution here isn't some complicated formula. It's actually incredibly simple. Put the calendar away and just watch your fish. Are they active? Are they coming up to eat? Let their behavior be your guide. You adjust your feeding based on what you see, not on what the date is. Okay, now let's flip the script completely and talk about summer. This is the season of explosive growth. Things are really happening. But it's also a high-stakes gamble, and the biggest risk involves the very air your fish need to breathe. We call this the summer paradox. The warm water sends your fish's metabolism into overdrive. They're eating more, they're growing faster, and because of that, they're demanding a lot more oxygen. But here's the catch. It's just a rule of physics. The warmer water gets, the less dissolved oxygen it can actually hold. And to really compound the problem, all that algae and plankton that loves the summer sun, it's also breathing, especially at night, consuming massive amounts of oxygen. Just look at the gap right here. On one side, you have the fish's oxygen demand skyrocketing. On the other, you have the actual supply of oxygen in the water dwindling. This oxygen squeeze is at its most dangerous in the early morning, right before sunrise, after the entire pond has been using up oxygen all night long. So how do you win this gamble? You have to go on the offensive. An aeration system can be your absolute best friend. You've got to be really disciplined about not overfeeding because that just adds fuel to the fire. And my personal favorite, you've got to become a dawn patroller. Get out to the pond at first light and just watch. Your fish's behavior is the best early warning system you could ever ask for. But it's not just about the extremes of winter and summer. Some of the biggest dangers actually come from periods of instability. I'm talking about the rainy season and those tricky transitions between the seasons. Think of a heavy rainstorm as a shockwave hitting your pond's ecosystem. It's not just water. It can instantly crash your water's pH and alkalinity, basically its chemical stability. It can wash in all sorts of contaminants from the surrounding land, and it can cause a sudden, shocking drop in temperature that really stresses out your fish. Your best defense against this kind of chaos is preparation. It starts way before the first drop of rain falls. You need to make sure your pond banks are strong, that your drainage is clear and ready to handle a downpour. You can also use buffering agents, like agricultural lime, to help your water's chemistry resist that sudden shock. And now for the true hidden threat, the one that catches so many people off guard. It's the transition periods. You know, those few weeks when winter is turning into spring or when summer fades into fall. This is when your fish are at their most vulnerable. Their immune systems are weak and trying to adjust to wild temperature swings. This is the perfect opening for disease to take hold. This is when most outbreaks happen. So, how do we pull all of this together? Well, it comes down to a fundamental shift in your mindset. It's about moving away from being a reactive problem fixer to becoming a proactive seasonal master. You know, the most successful pond managers aren't always the ones with the most expensive, high-tech gear. They're the ones who just have a deep understanding of these natural rhythms. They don't try to fight nature. They learn to anticipate its moves and work in harmony with it. So this is it. This is your proactive seasonal game plan. In winter, the threat is overfeeding and ammonia. Your solution is to watch your fish and adjust. In summer, the enemy is oxygen depletion. You counter that with aeration and careful feeding. During the rainy season, you're fighting instability. You defend by preparing your pond. And in those critical transition periods, your best tactic is just constant, vigilant monitoring. Ultimately, it really all comes down to this one question. Now that you have this understanding of the seasons, you have a choice. Are you going to keep getting surprised by problems and reacting after the damage is already done? Or are you going to step up, be the hero of your pond's story, anticipate the challenges, and prevent them before they ever even get started? The choice is yours.